I used to feel a certain kind of way about deck gunners, but I have recently come around to them. Definitely can be very strong. Units of this sort of long-range sniper type are generally very good at shooting down infantry units. Today I'm putting a Rider of Rohan through his paces with the High Elves into, of course, my Vampire Coast. And I've got a pretty decent build. I'm not really sure, not a competitive Coast player by any means, but this feels relatively competitive. Got 4 Hulks, 4 zombie bombers, of course. Plenty of deckhands in the front line with a bomber, or sorry, halberd in the back there. We've got the Lamprey's Revenge here, Regiment of Renown, Rotting Prometheans, and a cannon. And then, of course, Rider of Rohan coming in hot with Tyrion. He's also got, excuse me, a Frostheart Phoenix up in the sky. Rangers and Spearmen as a front line. Rangers out on the flanks. 5 archers, some white lions in the back, and a life mage. We're on the land battles with Cap's mod, although the capture might not end up mattering too much. We'll see. It kind of all just depends here. Yeah, if either of us is able to gain control of the capture or control it for a long period of time, we'll see. Or we might just both focus on trading with each other's armies. Initially, though, on the approach, I'm going to set these deck gunners out front, and they're going to start shooting at that Phoenix out in the distance there. Now, the biggest downsides of deck gunners by far, historically, some of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fans of them, is that they are very slow and extremely squishy. We're talking 10 melee defense, 15 armor, even on ultra HP, they have only 3,000 HP, which is just absolutely tiny, so extremely, extremely squishy. Very much glass cannons, or rotting meat cannons, maybe more, but just as squishy, although glass isn't squishy. You know what I mean, fragile. Very fragile. So I'm going to redeploy them into the back of my formation here, towards the cannon, and this is very important. I'm going to counterattack forward with the main body of my army. Also pulling these bats and dogs here, fell bats and dire wolves that have been in the woods to protect in close. This is going to allow them to respond, to any mobility threats that develop while my main army screens forward. And the key here is to keep these elven archers out of range of my squishy gun units, right? Those, like I discussed, very fragile, meaty gun units in the back. Tyrion YOLO's directly in here, is going to vanquish a few of these animated Hulks, and while I don't totally hate this initially, get some good disruption, allows these bombers to kind of get bunched up to get shot by the archers. The bombers still get through, and in a couple of cases, wreck some spearmen. They are already taking some significant damage, though. Rider Rohan's doing a great job kind of spreading damage around and hitting all of these different targets, so, I mean, realistically, the damage that they have done has been very well mitigated. I don't know, although they did help to nuke those spearmen. I mean, even 1-to-1, that's, even trade, so totally fine. Then here in the back, Carronades did take some damage there. Gonna dump a quick heal into them. This is my screen there. Rider of Rohan peeled his Illyrian Reavers. Nice. Sunfang, though, is going to deal some good damage to those zombie halberds. Meanwhile, Tyrion himself, unfortunately, did get surrounded here. Well, temporarily. Was unable to engage, and, yeah, unfortunately for Rider Rohan, he has taken a significant amount of damage. That being said, Tyrion definitely has the survivability to recover from this, of course, with that Heart of Avalorn. Excuse me, just smacked my mic stand. Apologize about that. Yeah, these Lamprey's Revenge are going to fulfill a similar role after the animated Hulks start to run out of steam, and kind of helping to bog down Tyrion, maybe surround him potentially. But all things considered, Rider of Rohan has absorbed this reasonably well. I do have a decent lead on army damage value, but he's still got a lot of these archers alive. See that nice Dwellers Below has been pulled up in the back line, the same time that the archers finally start to get some range on these units here, and no doubt this 2D Bush PS2 era is conspiring with the evil ground tentacles of the Dwellers Below to tear apart my units here. Completely destroys a cannon. These deck gunners and those full arms are also very likely completely done for. But the one unit of deck gunners does survive, and We're going to start to push back this kind of forward advance pocket here, or at least nuke it with a nice bit of shades there to get rid of them. Meanwhile, Noctil is still just grinding in the front line with his crabs. I think, does this technically count as trees? I'm not really sure. Might be working significantly to the advantage of the White Lions, of course, if that's the case, as Lamprey's Revenge, I don't believe, have Strider. No, definitely not. White Lions do technically have Woodsman, so interesting. Yeah, might be getting debuffed a little bit in that fight. The White Lions are also doing some decent armor-piercing damage punching back, but overall, a rough situation for them. Tyrion got some healing, looking relatively healthy at about 50% HP, but honestly, he should probably just peel and try and run away from Noctilus, given that, you know, he has the mobility advantage. He could, like, come back and try and hunt down these Hulks to bail out a majority of this force that's being chased off. Like, right now, this one unit of Hulks is putting in a lot of work and kind of zoning this entire area, more or less. Got some more Hulks that are going to utilize their speed here, but in the back, one unit of Deck Gunners has just been plinking away the whole time, and one thing I haven't really talked about with them too much so far is the target priority, or really lack thereof, in this particular battle. To be honest, I had let these guys just sit on fire at will without giving them a specific order, due to the fact that gun units often have line of sight issues, it seems, if you do give them a specific attack order. Makes it tough because then they can't focus units as efficiently, but the cannon at least was focusing the Phoenix. They were also just happened to be focusing the Phoenix for a decent amount of time. I think there was a point initially where I did have a true attack order on it. Then after I repositioned them, I don't think I actually issued an attack order until later on, but I did allow both of them to get some pretty good value, and although this one's time is definitely numbered, it did absolutely pay for itself as it gets run down by the Rangers there, and the animated Hulks try and pursue. Eventually, we'll probably be able to finish off those Rangers, but let's get back over to the front line. Rider Rohan, if we look at the value here, has managed to climb back actually into the lead. Granted, a lot of that is due to healing, but there's a decent amount of healing on both sides here, so I would say more or less is even, but of course I'm going to continue to be able to summon zombies in the late game. The thing about the land battles with Caps mod, one thing about it, is that, yeah, there's no army losses. Well, that's the word I was looking for. So in that circumstance, the games will tend to go on quite a bit longer. Here, I don't know if Rider Rohan, this capture point is extremely tiny. I don't know, maybe this map is not 100% finished yet, or maybe he just didn't realize to actually have a unit occupying this space, but he could have been ticking up those victory tickets for quite some time. Realistically, I don't know if I have the numbers to really capture it from him, and this is where both of us weren't really thinking about this as such, you know, in terms of the land battles with capture point mod. He is going to get Tyrion on the point momentarily, but the Lamprey's Revenge, you've got Noctilus in here, not technically on the square, but again, it's not enough for either player to actually capture the objective at this point. So, and it's not going to necessarily put a timer on this game as it would have otherwise. I mean, even as it is, Rider Rohan had been able to capture it. Yeah, he might be, if I can math out correctly, let's see, what, like 11 minutes? 11 minutes, there we go. And it starts 2 minutes into the battle, so he'd be a decent way towards victory if he had captured it, but I think possibly I could capture it back from him. It's hard to say. At this point, I'm in a little bit of a tough situation because just the Lamprey's Revenge and Noctilus, and then the one animated Hulk that got sent way out of the boonies is going to take quite some time to come back, so we'll see. I guess we'll kind of keep an eye on the timer there as we move later on into the game and just sort of calculate. Maybe Rider Rohan would have won if he would have actually captured the objective, but again, it's both of us our first time trying out this game mode, so really just in it for the land battle at this point. And certainly a focus on trading in many ways could be valid. I'm not really sure. Certainly by any means, this game mode being very new, I wouldn't say necessarily that anyone is an expert on it and what sort of tactics are best, but here, able to overpower quite a bit of his forces. I don't know, maybe if Rider Rohan makes his stand here, can actually hold out, but it's possible that I end up just winning or losing before the timer runs out. Both are absolutely possible at this point. Frostheart Phoenix did come back from route eventually, though, after being forgotten. These maps are very huge. It's very easy to lose units, especially towards the edge of the map, hence the and Hulks and whatnot. But yeah, we do shatter it very quickly. A lot of these other Elven units are starting to shatter, and the late-game deckhand summons have been super clutch in continuing to provide Noctilus support units so he doesn't just get surrounded and dragged down here. Tyrion also got routed there. He's back, hiding in the woods. Heal capped with 158 HP, and then the animated Hulks. Still, we're not able to finish off that archer despite everything, and I do feel I could be in a minority on this in terms of players who played this mod. Let me know if you guys have played this mod, if you have an opinion on this topic in particular, but the maps seem a little bit too big for me. I mean, in Domination, it maybe makes more sense to have a little bit more room for objectives and summon points and maneuver space, but I don't know, I feel like for land battles this is maybe just a tiny bit too big, but fortunately for Rider Rohan, I'm pretty much able to defeat his force before the timer would have won him the game on victory ticket. So although it was very close, it would have been close even if he had captured the objective. I mean, everything about it was close, right? But ultimately, I think I would have ended up winning had the battle played out more or less the same way, and he had just captured the objective. I mean, obviously, there's a few things I think that could have played out in the battle a little bit differently. I mean, the initial dive by Tyrion is definitely risky. He ended up tanking through it, but I think had he not taken that damage initially and had more health in the late game, he probably could have beat Noctilus there and ended up winning just outright. But definitely did a great job of dealing with the bombers. I know he felt bad as the match was ongoing, but at the same time, only one of them ends up actually paying for itself in terms of raw value. I mean, tactically, they did get rid of the spearmen, but the spearmen are just glorified roadblocks anyway. Both the rangers came in, got some really nice work done, cutting up a number of zombies, and the White Lions also, one of them trading decently, trying to drag down that Lamprey's Revenge. Tyrion, of course, carries a heavy amount of value, and then the archers, as is relatively common in this matchup, do a very good job. On my side, definitely both the deck guns, decent to be kind of average their value. I guess they pay for themselves. Cannons get pretty close, not quite what I would have wanted, but certainly the late game survivability of these two, Noctilus and the Lamprey's Revenge, just getting a ton of value, grinding it out, and then, of course, on the initial shock, the animated Hulks do a great job, generally very cost-effective given their current price. The bombers, yeah, like I said, Rider Rohan did a good job limiting them. My mobility troops did a decent job also kind of counteracting it, didn't really highlight their play too much, but just generally dealing with the Reavers. The Reavers were mostly a non-factor as I was able to deal with them. I mean, Rider Rohan did kind of dive in on the bombers to try and finish them off with his Reavers, but ended up being all right. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about this game mode. If you enjoy it, if you think it's necessary, I don't know. I think it definitely shows a lot of promise. The biggest thing is just the maps, of course. They being only community-made maps. We're going to have to generate some, and generally variety is good, so hopefully we can look for more of that in the future. I don't know. I haven't spoken to any of the map makers. They've done a really great job, I should say, with all the maps that are done already, but as ever, will be an ongoing need for more maps in the future, so definitely look to that. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. We'll see you guys later. Thanks.